Hello there! So this is a detailed instructions video for your SB025 individual assignment. So this is the assignment that you need to do for biology in semester 2 for 15% of your grade. My name is Miss Delia Roseanne Richard and I hope this video is helpful for you. So if you're ready, let's begin. So this assignment is based on what you have learned in chapter 1. And we know that R.H. Whittaker and Carl Weiss have both organized living organisms into several groups to better explain the relationship between them. Based on what you have learned in the classroom, we're going to construct a phylogenetic tree by utilizing the three-domain system. Instructions for you. This task is to be completed individually, so please do this on your own, not in groups or pairs. And your phylogenetic tree shall be formatted as the following. It should be in an A3 sized paper. All the words, such as scientific names and sentences, should be fully handwritten. And relevant diagrams should be correctly included in the phylogenetic tree. The included relevant diagrams can be printed or drawn or both. So this is an example of diagram that is considered relevant. For example, if you want to add a picture for phylum Porifera, then you're going to use this image of Leucosolinia species and then write the species name, Leucosolinia, right there. And remember, when you're writing binomial nomenclature, please ensure that your handwritten names are underlined. You can also hand draw the diagrams like I've done here. So this is my hand drawing of Leucosolinia species and I still write the species name right next to it. It can be tempting to use media or references that you are familiar with to help you remember and understand some of these facts. But I would strongly advise against using cartoons or these popular type of media in your assignment because I do not consider them a relevant diagram for this task. Okay, untuk nota kamu yang lain, boleh kamu masuk SpongeBob kasi masuk cartoon line. Tapi kalau kamu masukkan dalam assignment ini, saya akan anggap dia sebagai hiasan dan bukan sebagai relevant diagram. So please take note. You need to have a minimum of 10 relevant diagrams before I can give you proper marks. Paling bagus setiap phylum ada satu diagram dan contoh. Paling kurang 10 diagram dalam assignment kamu. Okay, so your phylogenetic tree must include the following key points. You must have the 3 domains of life. You must have the criteria for classification under the 5 kingdom classification system. Okay, this criteria for classification is the prokaryotic, eukaryotic, unicellular, multicellular, autotrophic, heterotrophic. That is what is meant by the second point. Third and fourth point, general classification for kingdom Protista and kingdom Fungi. Fifth, classification of plants based on evolutionary characteristics in the respective groups. Sixth, classification of animals based on evolutionary characteristics. 7th, name of each kingdom and phylum. And 8th, an example of species for each phylum using binomial nomenclature format. Okay, so you must include at least 3 credible sources written in APA format. I strongly recommend you use sources such as Campbell and Solomon textbooks. Not advised to use lecture notes. Not advised to use Wikipedia. You can use other forms of blogs, books, YouTube videos as long as you cite it correctly according to APA citation format. So this is a guide that has been passed around from others. I think this is originally online somewhere. This is a quick guide for referencing using APA citation style. You must have the author, the year or date that it is published, and the title, and a few other extra information. You are strongly advised to submit your draft to your lecturer by 17 February at latest before proceeding to designing your final phylogenetic tree. And then you will have another approximately 2 weeks to finalize your phylogenetic tree for submissions on 3rd March. So first draft 17, final draft 3 March. Late submissions are penalized accordingly, so that means I will have to deduct marks if you submit late. On top of your finished work, I will also grade your performance based on your time of completion. That means if you submit on time, I consider you're good. It says here, starting when the task was set out until both deadlines are met. Some of you have started with your assignment already. Some of you were waiting for this video, so I consider today as the day I set out the assignment. But still try to submit before 17th February. The main assessment criteria are as the following. I look at your integrity, I look at the organization of your sections, and I look at the contents. So how should your assignment look? I would like you to start the top of your assignment with stating last universal common ancestor. Some people write 3-domain system or 5-kingdom system at the top, but I prefer to have last universal common ancestor at the top. And then we can use Whittaker's 5-kingdom classification system and divide it based on whether it is prokaryotic or eukaryotic. So as you can see here, I've written prokaryotic, eukaryotic. Yung prokaryotic branch will lead to kingdom prokaryota. From kingdom prokaryota, that is further divided into domain bacteria and domain archaea. So here I will include a species example and a diagram. I've put in E. coli and a diagram of E. coli for bacteria, and Sulfolobus species with a diagram of Sulfolobus species for archaea. Now let's look at the eukaryotic branch of the tree. So after you divide it into prokaryotic and eukaryotic, the eukaryotic branch will lead to domain eukarya. Domain eukarya is divided into unicellular and multicellular eukaryotes. If it is a unicellular eukaryote, that goes into kingdom Protista. If it is multicellular, then we look at its modes of nutrition and divide it based on whether it is heterotrophic or autotrophic. If it is a saprophytic, heterotrophic, multicellular eukaryote, that is under kingdom Fungi. If it is holozoic, heterotrophic, multicellular eukaryote, that is under kingdom Animalia. If it is autotrophic or photosynthetic, multicellular eukaryote, that is under kingdom Plantae. So this is what it should like for the Protista branch of the tree. Be divided into group Algae and group Protozoa. For group Algae, we can divide that into phylum Chlorophyta and phylum Phaeophyta. For group Protozoa, we divide that into phylum Euglenophyta, phylum Rhizopoda, phylum Celiophora, and phylum Apicomplexa. Oh, sorry, there's a typo for Celiophora here. I didn't notice before I put in the diagram. Just take note, Celiophora, C-I-L-I-O. For kingdom Fungi, you can divide that into phylum Zygomycota, phylum Basidiomycota, and phylum Ascomycota. Remember to add an example of species. So setiap phylum ni tambah satu contoh species dan satu gambar kalau boleh. Moving on, we're going to kingdom Animalia. So for kingdom Animalia, we're going to classify based on their evolutionary characteristics. That means we're looking at whether or not this animal has true tissues. Then we're going to look at the germ layer, whether it is diploblastic or triploblastic. We're going to look at its body plan, whether it is acoelomate, pseudocoelomate, or coelomate. And last but not least, we're looking at segmentation. So let's start. If it does not have true tissue, it goes under phylum Porifera. If it does have true tissue, then we're going to look at its germ layers. So based on the germ layer, if it is diploblastic, it is going into phylum Cnidaria. If it is triploblastic, it is going into the next classification characteristic. The next characteristic is its body plan. So if it is triploblastic and acoelomate, that is phylum Platyhelminthes. If it is triploblastic but pseudocoelomate, that is phylum Nematoda. And if it is coelomate triploblastic organism, then we are going to look at whether it is segmented or unsegmented. Segmented coelomates are phylum Annelida, phylum Arthropoda, and phylum Chordata. Unsegmented coelomates are phylum Mollusca and phylum Echinodermata. So please classify your Animalia according to these classifications. And do remember to add an example and drawing. Last but not least, we're going into our plant overlords. We are looking at kingdom Plantae. So the evolutionary relationships that we are using for kingdom Plantae is vascular system, seed, and whether that seed is protected or unprotected. So let's look at our plants. If your plant does not have a vascular system, then that goes into group Bryophytes. That is then divided into phylum Bryophyta, phylum Hepatophyta, and phylum Anthocerophyta. If your plant does have a vascular system, then we go to the next branch and see whether it is seedless or it produces seed. If it does not produce a seed, it is seedless and it goes under group Pteridophytes, and that is divided into phylum Lycophyta and phylum Pteridophyta. If it does produce seed, then we look at if that seed is unprotected or naked or not enclosed by ovary. So if it is unprotected, that is under group Gymnosperms, and group Gymnosperms can be further classified into 4 phyla, which is phylum Coniferophyta, phylum Cycadophyta, phylum Gingophyta, and phylum Gnetophyta. And of course, the very familiar protected seed or seed enclosed by ovary is the flowering plants, which is group Angiosperms, only have 1 phylum, which is phylum Anthophyta. So the idea is you would take all of these branches, add it in here, and then that should make a complete tree of life. And these are examples of previous students' works. I do not go into detail, but you can see you have different layouts, different color schemes, but make sure you have all the information that we ask of you. And do include diagrams, do include the names, make sure it is neat and organized well. Once again, deadline 17 February for the first draft, and final deadline 3rd of March, which is in week 7. Thank you all for your time and attention. I hope this video has been helpful, and I am looking forward to seeing your assignments. All the best and happy learning. Bye!